Hey, what's up everybody? I'm Landan with LMR.com. In this video, we're gonna be showing you how to replace your coil-on plugs and your spark plugs in a second generation 1999 to 2004 Ford Lightning. The truck we're gonna be working on today, this is a 99 Lightning. It does have low miles, I think somewhere around maybe 55, 56,000. But regardless, the owner of the truck wants to go ahead and put fresh Motorcraft Platinum plugs and Motorcraft coil-on plugs. Because of the age of the truck, he feels that that's what's right and that's what he wants to do. This is tedious. This is no easy job just because of the working room. You're gonna need some patience. You're gonna need a good selection of tools. All right, so when you go to do this, you'll need a good selection of 1/4-inch drive and 3/8 drive tools. We'll just start over here. Compressed air. If you don't have compressed air, go get you an air compressor. You're gonna want this, to blow out the area around the coil-on plugs, and of course, when you pull the coil-on plug, blow out the spark plug hole in the cylinder head. Spark plug gapping tool, a magnet. Magnet 100%. That way, you can easily get the coil-on plug bolts out. And if you accidentally drop something, down in the abyss, as we call it, you can fish it out with your magnet. 1/4-inch drive here. You're gonna obviously need a 7mm deep, 7mm shallow, swiveling 7mm, not an adapter. The actual 7mm swiveling socket. It's gonna be a lifesaver on especially your number 7 and your number 8 cylinder coil-on plug bolts. 12-inch extension, 6-inch extension, 3-inch extension. Jumping over here to our 3/8 drive. Some of you may prefer a flex ratchet. This is good, especially if you're working in tight angles. You need to get a little bit different approach. I do like my Milwaukee 3/8 drive ratchet. It's got a close ratio click. You can get in there and finagle the spark plugs without needing a whole bunch of room with that socket wrench. 12-inch extension, 6-inch Wobble extension, 6-inch regular extension, 3-inch regular extension, swiveling adapter, and then if you have access to the long reach spark plug socket, go this route. If not, standard old 5/8 spark plug socket will do the trick. If you're gonna use the short spark plug socket, whatever extension you use some good tape. This can't be thick because it has to go down in the spark plug hole, but just maybe a round or two, some painter's tape, whatever you find that may be necessary you have laying around your shop or your garage. That way, when you go to pull this back out, if the rubber portion in the spark plug socket wants to grab the spark plug, you're just gonna be sitting there fighting all day long. So good little tip there, shallow spark plug socket. If I may have left something out, y'all just check the description. We'll have the list of the tools that we used down in there, as well as all the applicable torque specs. To keep this video organized, we're gonna start on the passenger side, which starts with cylinder 1, 2, 3, and 4, and then we'll jump over to the driver's side and do 5, 6, 7, and 8. And as we progress to each cylinder, tell you what tool combination you need. We'll also tell you if you need to reroute or move a part and component for a little bit better access. Any of the parts and pieces you see in this video, I'll leave those down in the description as well. So let's get started. Come around here, open it up. This would also be a good time. This is a low mile truck, so the engine bay is relatively clean. We are gonna blast the coil-on plug area with some compressed air, but if your engine bay, it's a high mileage truck, it was fairly neglected, somewhat neglected, there's dirt and debris, you may have to carefully clean that area, with some all-purpose cleaner degreaser and some water. Just be careful, because that can leak down past the coil-on plug boots and you could develop a misfire. But regardless, you do wanna flush and clean this area out as best you can with some compressed air. Okay, so before we get rolling, we're gonna go ahead and gap our spark plugs. The factory spark plug gap on these trucks, which this truck has no performance modifications, no upper pulley, no lower pulley, nothing like that. 42 to 46 thousandths. So we're just gonna go ahead and draw that down the center and go for 44 thousandths. If your truck is making more boost, it has some performance modifications, there's plenty of information out there on where you need to gap your plug for those applications. If you're always unsure, contact your tuner and they can recommend you a spark plug gap. I'm gonna be using this little coin gapper. You can pick these up at the auto parts store. This is one of those things where some folks like them, some folks don't. I've never had an issue with them. If you wanna just use this tool to widen, the electrode, and then you can use a standard feeler gauge to check your gap, you can. You can use the point or the tongue section of the tool to widen it, or in some instances you can use the hole and you can pass it through here and lift up. But because of the thickness of the tool, the gap that we're wanting, we can't use that functionality. As you can see, it doesn't get a bite on the ground electrode, so that's why I use the point or the tongue area of the tool to help widen the electrode. So we're at 48,000, so we're gonna need to back that down. The way you do it is I usually just take, firm hold on the spark plug, firm hold on the tool, and on the back side of the tool, just kind of gently press down, or not gently, with a little bit of force. So we are about 44 thousandths, right on the nose. So we got lucky on that one. Because sometimes you may have to do this a couple times to get it dialed in. And then you'll go ahead and repeat this for all 8 of your spark plugs. Start off by removing the solenoid cover. Place a fender mat over the fender, and then use some compressed air to blow away any dirt and debris from around the coil packs. Don't forget to disconnect the negative battery cable. Starting on cylinder 1, disconnect the coil-on plug electrical connection. Remove the retaining bolt with a 7mm deep socket and a 6-inch regular extension. Remove the coil pack from the cylinder head. Blow out the spark plug hole with some compressed air. Use a 5/8 spark plug socket, 6-inch Wobble extension, and a 6-inch regular extension with a 3/8 drive socket wrench to remove the spark plug. Apply anti-seize to the threads on the new spark plug. Reinstall and run it down by hand. Torque the plug to 13 to 14 pound-feet. Apply some dielectric grease to the end of the coil pack and a thin film to the outside area of the boot that makes contact with the cylinder head. Now you can reinstall the coil pack. Clean up the coil pack retaining bolt and reinstall it by hand. Then you can torque it to 89 pound-inch and reconnect the electrical connection. For cylinder 2, you'll use the same tool combination as cylinder 1. Insert the spark plug socket and Wobble extension first, then connect the regular extension. Moving on to cylinder 3, it's going to require a 7mm shallow socket and 3-inch regular extension for the coil pack retaining bolt. You'll use a 6-inch Wobble extension and a 3-inch regular extension for the spark plug. Whenever you get to cylinder 4, you'll need to remove the PCV valve from the grommet in the valve cover and push it over. Use a 7mm shallow socket with 3-inch regular extension on the coil pack bolt. The coil pack boot was stuck in the cylinder head. This is why dielectric grease is important. To get this out, use a small flathead screwdriver or a pick to separate the boot from both the plug and the cylinder head wall. For the spark plug, use the 6-inch Wobble extension. All right, so moving over to bank 2, this is the driver's side. Since there are more components on this side of the engine, now would be a good time to go ahead and move them out of the way. Whenever you get to this point, you'll want to remove the intake tube and the airbox for additional working room. To do this, loosen and remove the clamp securing the intake tube to the supercharger plenum with an 8mm socket. On the underside of the tube, disconnect all 3 vacuum hoses. Use a small flathead screwdriver to depress the tab on the mass airflow connection and disconnect it. Release the 3 airbox lid clamps. Disconnect the inlet air temperature sensor connection. Pull the intake tube away from the throttle body and remove this portion from the truck. Lift up on the airbox to dislodge the lower pegs from the grommets. Then you want to pull the lower section of the box away from the fender to remove it from the truck. Start with the evap hose connected to the side of the supercharger plenum. Remove it and position it out of the way. Disconnect the EVR solenoid connection and the vacuum hoses. Remove the 2 hoses from the underside of the DPFE sensor and position them out of the way. Place a microfiber towel into the throttle body and cover the larger vacuum lines with some tape. Use compressed air to blow away any dirt and debris from around the coil packs. All right, so for cylinder 5, you want to use the 7mm deep socket, 6-inch extension, and 3-inch extension for the coil pack bolt. Then you'll use a 3-inch extension, 6-inch Wobble extension, and a 6-inch regular extension for the spark plug. On cylinder 6, the tool selection and combinations are the same as cylinder 5. Cylinder 7 is where it starts to get kind of tricky. Use a 7mm swiveling socket and 12-inch extension to remove the coil pack bolt. To remove the spark plug, use a 12-inch regular extension and a 6-inch regular extension. Finally, we've made it to cylinder 8. Use a 7mm swiveling socket and 3-inch extension to remove the coil pack bolt. Once it's loose, you'll need to remove the socket wrench and turn the extension by hand to remove it. The spark plug on this cylinder gets removed with a 6-inch regular extension, swiveling adapter, and then a 12-inch extension. Since the coil pack bolt is tricky to get to, take a small piece of paper and push the head of the bolt into the socket. The piece of paper will help hold the bolt in place while you reinstall it. After you're finished with cylinder 8, you can reconnect and reposition any component that was moved on the driver's side of the engine. Reinstall the air box and its associated components. Reconnect the negative battery cable and start the truck. All right, people, so we just finished up changing the spark plugs and the coil-on plugs, and we're just gonna go ahead and tell you, there's some tight working areas. You're gonna get blood hand, you're gonna get some busted knuckles, but you know what? That's just part of the fun. So I'd say all in all, this is gonna depend on your tool selection, mechanical expertise. This one took us just a shade over 4 hours. You need to plan it out. That's about how long it took me, but you know, each individual results will slightly vary. So we're gonna go ahead and we're gonna start the truck up. We got everything hooked back up. Moment of truth, I have not started it up yet since I finished it, so I guess if anything goes wrong, well, y'all get to see it too. I say that's success. All right, so when you go to do this, like I said, a good selection of tools, especially in your 1/4 inch and 3/8 drive, assortment is gonna be recommended and it's gonna be needed. Hope y'all enjoyed this one again. For the most part, straightforward. It's just getting to the coil-on plugs and the spark plugs, what kind of makes this tedious and kind of what gives you some blood hand. So hope y'all enjoyed this one. If you found value in the video, go ahead and like it, give it a thumbs up, subscribe to our channel, and make sure those notifications are turned on. And until we catch you in the next one, y'all know what to do for all things second gen lighting. Keep it right here at TheRealEnthusiastLMR.com.